Today we will be multiplying rational expressions. So I've got 7 problems for us to go over today. And taking a look at our first one here, we've got no addition signs. So I have 2 like this, the first 2 problems. So when you see no addition signs, what I would recommend doing is just rewriting the problem as one fraction and use the commutative property. So here we can use the commutative property because everything's multiplication. So I'm going to rewrite this as 9 times by 10, so I've moved the 10 next to the 9, and now let's count up the number of r's. Notice there's 1 r here and 2 r's here, so that makes 3 r's altogether. And then count up the t's, and it looks like there's only the 5 t's on top. Now down below, do the same sort of thing. Take the 5 and the 27 and bring those next to each other. Now I see that 9 goes into 27, so that's why I wrote the 27 underneath the 9 and the 5 underneath the 10. Now count up the r's. Looks like only 4 r's, and then we have the 1t. And so notice I just used that commutative property, left some space between the terms, and I go ahead and do some reducing. So you see how 9 goes into the 27 3 times, 5 goes into the 10 2 times, and then it cancels out some r's. So these 3 r's are going to cancel out 3 of the r's down below, leaving me just with 1 r left over. This 1t will take out 1 of the t's on top, leaving me with 4 t's left over. Now let's just rewrite what we've got. We've got a 2 on top, and it looks like 4 t's, so 2t to the 4th power. And then down below, I've got the 1 3, and it looks like 1 r. And that's it, just 3r. And so there's our answer. So again, the ones without addition signs, just rewrite as one big fraction using the commutative property. And that's what we get to do here as well. So I'll take that 3 and the 4, bring those next to each other. Notice I'm not multiplying them because what keeps it in the factored form makes the reducing easier at the end. 2x's here, 1x here makes 3x's. And then I've got just the 4y's. Down below, I've got a 2, and it looks like 6x's. So I'm going to put the x's first, again, because those are the ones I put first on top of the fraction. And then I've got the 4y's. And so now we get to do some reducing. So I'll cancel out this 2 goes into this 4 2 times. These 3x's are going to cancel out 3 of the x's down below, leaving me with 3x's. All of the y's cancel. 4 y's on top, 4 y's on the bottom. So let's see what's left over. Well, I've got the 3 and the 2 here, so those multiply together to make 6. But no more x's, no more y's, so just 6 on top. Now over here, I just have these 3 x's left over. So it's 6 over x to the 3rd power. And that is our answer. Well, here we have addition signs. So when we have addition signs, we must factor out common factors. And that's what we're looking for in this problem, is just common factors. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out that 6 that goes into these 2 terms here. So I'm dividing each of these terms by 6. So I'll put the 6 on the outside of a parenthesis, do some division. 6a over 6 leaves me with just a. 12 divided by 6 leaves me with 2. And so now I move to the bottom of this fraction. I see they only have an a that's in common between these 2 terms. So I'm going to pull that a on the outside of a parenthesis, do some division, and I've got a 3 plus a. Now if you wanted to, you could rewrite that as a plus 3. And it might be good because when I look at the next fraction, I see there is an a plus 3. And so the 3 plus a will cancel out this a plus 3. But there's no factors here, so we just leave it as a plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and put some parentheses around it because it does represent one term, one number. Over here I see a 4 goes into both the 8 and the 4, and they both have at least one a. So I'm going to pull out a 4a. So 4a goes on the outside of a parenthesis, do some division, and I've got an a plus 2 left over. So now we can go ahead and do some reducing. So I see the a plus 2's are going to cancel. I see that the 3 plus a can cancel out this a plus 3. And this 4 and this 6 have a common factor of 2. So I'm going to divide them both by 2. So that's how I'm getting 3 here and then 2 here. Well, let's multiply everything that's left over. On top I've got a 3. And down below I've got a times a makes a squared, and I have this 2, so 2a squared. So 3 over 2a squared is my answer. Well, this next one, if you won't see both of them being a fraction, or if you don't see that, make that second one a fraction. M squared minus 16 over 1 is the fraction form there. So let's go ahead and take out common factors like we had done before. So 2m, well, there's nothing there, so let's just rewrite that. And we have a 5 that goes both into 5m and 20. So we'll pull out that 5, do some division, and I've got an m plus 4 left over. Well, on the top of this fraction, it is a difference of squares. So whenever you see a difference of squares, again, no common factors, just a difference of squares, it factors to a sum and a difference. M plus 4, M minus 4. Those are the factors. See, negative 4 and 4 multiply to make the negative 16, and they add to make 0, which is why we don't see that middle term. This is all over 1. So let's go ahead and do some reducing. So I see the m plus 4s are the same, so those will cancel. But that's it. I cannot cancel anything else out. See, the 5 doesn't go into any of these other numbers. So what we have left is a 2m multiplied by m minus 4 all over 5. Now, if you wrote this as the answer on the test, I would give you full credit. However, on some tests, especially the multiple choice tests, they might not have the answer in this form. So they might distribute that 2m over that difference and have 2m squared minus 8m all over 5. And so you need to be familiar with both answers. Either one would work for me. Those are the answers we get. Taking a look at the next problem, here we have two rational expressions. P plus 3 is the first top of the fraction. That has no common factors, so we'll just leave it as P plus 3. P squared minus 25, though, is a difference of squares, so that's going to factor to P minus 5 and a P plus 5. And then we look at the next one, I see a 3 goes into each of these terms. And so I'm going to take out that 3 and put it on the outside of a parenthesis and do some division, and I've got a P minus 5 left over. And then down below, this is a trinomial, no common factors, so the way to factor it is trying two binomials. And so I see that if I write down a P plus 3 and a P minus 2, negative 2 and 3 multiply to make the negative 6, and notice that I have more positives than negatives, so I'm getting a positive 1p when I check those outside-inside terms. Now again, this P plus 3 is one number, so let's put in parentheses there. And we go ahead and look for the common factors. So I see P plus 3, those will cancel. The P minus 5 will cancel this P minus 5, but that's it. See, there's no 3 down below to cancel out this 3 on top. So what I've got left is 3 over a P plus 5 and a P minus 2. Now, I would let you leave the answer this way. This will get you full credit on one of my tests, but on a multiple choice test, you might not see it this way. So you need to be familiar with the other form, which they could end up using the FOIL method and multiplying this out. So the first terms are P squared. Outside and inside terms, outside are negative 2P, inside positive 5P. That make a positive 3P when I subtract those two. The last terms, 5 and negative 2, make negative 10. So you got to be familiar with both ways of conveying the answer, and there it is. Well, looking at the next one here, we've got a binomial with some common factors. So I'm going to take out that common factor of x. That's all we have is just an x. So divide each of those by x, put the x on the outside of a parenthesis. I've got 3x and then plus y to the third left over. That's it. So no common factors in there. And then down below I've got that y to the third. Well, let's take a look at this next one. You see there's no x in common, but they do have a y. And they also have a number of 2. So 2 goes into both 8 and the 2. So I'm going to take out a 2y. So put the 2y on the outside of the parenthesis, do some division, and I've got an x plus 4 left over. And so down below I've got a x that's common between these two terms. So always look for the common factor. Just because it's an x squared doesn't mean it's going to factor as two binomials. Always look for common factors first. So what I've got left over is a 4 plus x. So now we can go ahead and do some reducing. So I've got the 4 plus x is going to cancel out the x plus 4. I've got one y on top. That's going to cancel out one of these y's on the bottom. So leaving me with 2 y's left over on the bottom of the fraction. So this 1x here will cancel out this 1x, but that's it. That's as far as you can go. You can't do anything with this 3x plus y to the third. That doesn't cancel anything out. So the way I'm going to write it is 2 multiplied by 3x plus y to the third all over, and then all I've got is this y squared. But again, this is one way I would let you write the answer, but it might not be this way on a multiple choice test. So you have to be familiar with distributing this 2 over that addition. So you'd end up with 6x plus 2y to the third power all over y squared. Now, a common mistake is people want to cancel out that y to the third and the y squared, but you can't do it because it's not y to the third on top. It's 2 times y to the third plus the 6x, and so that is our final answer there. Let's take a look at our last one here. So 2, we can't do anything with that, so we just bring that down, and we see this 4m squared plus 8m. See, it has common factors. People say, oh, let's draw 2 sets of parentheses, but no, look for common factors and take those out, and then look to see if you can draw 2 sets of parentheses and factor it as 2 binomials. But in this case, we can't. So just that 4m is all you're going to take out. You've got an m plus 2 left over when you do that division, when we take out the 4m from both of those terms. Now on top, you see this is one that's going to factor as 2 binomials because, notice there's no common factors. It's a trinomial, a second degree polynomial, because of the 2 up top here signifies the degree it's going to end up being, the highest exponent there. And m times m makes m squared. And numbers that multiply to make 12 but add to make 8, well, that'd be 6 and 2. And so that's how that ends up factoring. So notice the difference between these two. So I use 2 sets of parentheses when I don't have any common factors, but still it is a second degree polynomial. Here it was a second degree polynomial, but there was a common factor that I took out from each of those terms. Down below I'll just rewrite that 6 plus m, and I'll now start looking for some common factors. So what I see is the m plus 6 and the 6 plus m. Those will cancel out. The m plus 2 and the m plus 2, those will cancel out. And the 4 and the 2 have a common factor of 2. So the 2 changes to a 1, the 4 changes to a 2. Let's see what's left over. Well, just a 1 on top of the fraction. And down below, well, we have the 2m. So 1 over 2m is our answer. Well, those are some of the problems you'll see on tonight's homework. Good luck.